Hey everybody, Reed Price here. I play the role of Rob Shandon on Sullivan's Crossing, and you're listening to Corman Productions' Deep Dive TV Podcast with Dave and Stacie.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from Corman Productions and my co-host Stacie here to talk about Sullivan's Crossing, Season 2, Episode 6, titled Revelations, which, by the way, is the first of two podcasts with talking about an episode of television with that as a title for an episode.
Well, first of three, actually.
Oh, that's true.
Because episodes 9 and 10 of From are both called Revelations. So chapters 1 and 2.
So that's a pretty crazy coincidence.
It is a crazy coincidence. And so working on notes for both of these kind of simultaneously, I was like, did I do this wrong? Did I not copy it over? I'm looking at it like, what am I looking at? And I'm like, oh no, that is the title of all of these episodes of television that we're taking notes from at the same time.
Yep. All right, so the episode description reads as follows. After receiving some devastating news about her stepfather, Maggie starts to question everything in her life. Andrew continues to try and win Maggie back. Yes, that's my thought exactly. But continues to rub Sully the wrong way in the process, and me as well. Sully struggles to reconcile the mixed emotions of having Phoebe back at the crossing. Sydney moves back in with Rob, and Cal goes for a relaxing boys' night out, which ends in a surprising revelation. The episode is written by Ryan Atamo, that's my best guess on that pronunciation, and Ken Crawl, directed by Melanie Orr. Before we go any further, I'll tell you a couple things. One, this is not a sport-free podcast, so if you haven't watched the episode, I highly recommend you go check it out, and then come back and give us a listen. Secondly, if you're listening on the platforms of this podcast is now available on, please follow, and feel free to check out my YouTube channel, Corman Productions, where additional content can be discovered. If you're already on my YouTube channel, please like, share, and comment, and subscribe to the channel. All right, shout-outs this week.
All right.
Birthday shout-out for Faith Chavez, or
Faith Shavs.
Shavs.
If I remember correctly.
No, I think you're right.
I know we had a long back and forth with her trying to tell me how to pronounce her name the first time we shouted her out.
Do you remember what day it was exactly?
It was sometime this week. I didn't write down I want to say Tuesday this week, a couple days ago.
Right.
Either way. And Faith, of course, is a background actress. Yep. She has been in Sullivan's Crossing. We call her Nurse Faith.
Yep.
And I think she might be stalking Maggie because Nurse Faith worked at the Boston Hospital in season 1, and she worked at the Timberlake Hospital in season 2. So she might be stalking Maggie. Maggie might want to watch out for Nurse Faith.
I can't wait until that plot line starts.
And of course, she's also a great supporter of the channel.
Oh, absolutely.
Faith is always sharing all of our content, and we love you.
Yes, absolutely.
Happy birthday.
Yes, happy birthday. And Jessica Evans. Jessica is one of the admins for one of, I think she also does the Sullivan's Crossing group. She's definitely a From group. She says, and she lets me post both links in that group.
Yes.
And yeah, Jessica Evans is also a supporter of the channel. So happy birthday!
And her birthday is today.
Today,
I believe.
yes.
Yeah. So
presuming I actually successfully get this to drop today.
I hope so.
Yes.
That's the plan, isn't it?
Yep, it is. It is the idea. All right. So also, Ashley Wright, also a friend of the channel, says it is a good price to record our intro. And yes, it is definitely good of Reed to do that.
Awesome.
He is.
And as we said in our first episode of the season, we thank Reed so much for doing that for us. He's amazing.
And Skylar Anderson loves our nickname for Andrew, and believe me, we are going to be using it a lot this episode. All right, so Stacie, your thoughts on this week's episode?
Oh, well, yeah, it's the Andrew episode. And like, did anything happen in this episode? Because I think I was too busy being mad at Andrew the whole time to know what the heck else was even happening.
Well, pretty much.
Everybody goes out because apparently the new bar is the only place to be.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to Rob's Diner being a bar at night? Because we only did that once.
Maybe because he no longer has any help at all.
He just closes at night now.
Yeah.
And he goes out to drink.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Andrew, I can't.
All right, so
we got Phoebe. We don't like her either, but I didn't dislike her as much because we have Andrew to dislike.
Right. Well, not only that, but see, as much as she annoys me, I don't think she's actually that terrible, even though she is pretty bad. And Andrew definitely eclipses her. And oh man, Andrew, yeah, fucking Andrew. Gosh. He is okay. So in our From podcast, the one that hasn't released yet, but will.
Don't say any spoilers.
I'm not gonna. But, I'm actually maybe spoilers for the podcast, not necessarily for that episode.
Yeah.
All right, but you made a joke. I basically said that I give everybody a chance, and then you made a joke except for Jim. Now, here's the thing about Jim. Which isn't going to make any sense to anybody who's not also a Sullivan's Crossing fan, as well as a From fan. Mm-hmm. But I don't actually hate Jim. He annoys the ever-loving crap out of me. He makes a lot of bad decisions. Right. But I don't hate him. Andrew, I can't stand that fucking guy. Like... I could not...
And we've said this before.
Yes.
No shade to Alan Hocko.
Oh, yeah, of course not. No.
Great actor.
Yes, absolutely.
It's the character that we have a problem with.
Right. No, Alan Hocko, I'm sure he's great. And, you can't have a character that you completely despise if you don't have a performer who does him well. And Alan Hocko does a very good job with him, of course.
Yeah.
But, I can't stand the character at all.
Now, I will say, and it's probably because of Andrew... Lola did not do anything to bother me this episode.
I know.
I have no problems with Lola this week.
Nope, she was a human being. She was a perfectly nice human being.
Yeah. I was like, yay for Lola.
Yeah.
Because that's a first, I think.
Andrew definitely eclipses everybody in the shittiness department. But we'll go through it and explain exactly why he is such a crap person as we go.
Every time he opened his mouth? Every single one of them.
There was a time at the beginning where he said hi that I thought he was okay. But other than that, no.
No. I'm going to say no, because him even coming here is a no.
He asked if it's okay to come here after the fact.
He's here. And she's like, yeah, I'm glad you're here. And that's only because she has something she has to tell him and she knows she can't put it off any longer.
Right.
But... from his perspective, this woman broke up with you.
Right.
Why are you here? This is your ex.
Right.
And you're coming here with her mother.
It's because he's so worried about her. I mean, that's literally the only thing he said all season. I am so worried about you.
Not too worried.
Yeah, right. Okay, so...
or he'd, be helpful.
Now, as far as the episode is concerned, I did like that we had a lot of honest conversations in this episode, which is unique for this series because we tend to not have these conversations, and they didn't call this episode Revelations for nothing. So there was a lot of good meat here.
Yeah, there is.
But
it's hard to overlook Andrew.
It is. He overshadows a lot. All right. So do we have anything else to say before diving in?
No. Let's just get into the scene by scene.
Okay. So, the episode begins where we left off. Phoebe has pulled up.
Phoebe. I meant to, before we start recording, I meant to say, Dave, Phoebe. Because you cannot say that name.
Right.
And you still can't. And I forgot, even if I had said that before we started, you're still another dozen times before we're done today going to call her Phoebe, I'm guessing.
Yeah, probably.
The name is Phoebe.
Phoebe.
That's how you spell it.
Okay.
Phoebe.
Yes. So, Sully is not happy to see her, and even less happy when Andrew pops out of the car. Edna and Frank both give Phoebe a very cool reception. Frank says it's been too long, and he is so unconvincing saying that he might as well not bother saying it.
Edna's clearly the one that has the biggest problem with Phoebe. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, does Frank really have a problem with her, or is he just supporting Edna?
Probably more that along those lines. I mean... He's also supporting Sully in a way, too.
But does he personally, despise the fact that her presence is here?
That's a good question. I don't know that Frank himself has a specific problem with Phoebe.
Yeah.
As the other two definitely do.
Right.
So I think you might have a point there. And then we have our credits. When we come back, Sully is pissed. He doesn't want to take Walter's money because, he already believes he's a piece of shit, and taking his handout is not going to help prove him wrong.
Well, don't worry, because you're not going to have to worry about that.
Yeah, no. Edna, okay, so he ends up leaving to get some air. Edna indicates to Frank that it's okay to go out and talk to him. And then we have Phoebe, Andrew, Maggie at Sully's house.
Yeah, so she's settling them in at the house in guest rooms. I guess there's a lot of rooms in this house. Wouldn't they have been more comfortable staying in one of the cabins?
Yeah. Are we even sure that Sully is okay with this?
Right. Why would you be like, I'm going to make a guest room up for you in Dad's house? You own a campground that nobody's staying at.
Right.
Usually, we're like, don't give the rooms away for free. But in this case, this is somebody you might not want sleeping in the next room over.
I'm okay.
Put them in a cabin.
I'm okay with not charging Phoebe.
Right.
But definitely charge Andrew full price and then some. But yeah, so... Andrew...
Well, at this point, they do think they're here to help, so there's that. But I just think they would have all been more comfortable in the cabin, but then we wouldn't have been able to have all these scenes we're going to have. So
right.
I see why they put them in the house, but it seems like a really weird assumption that they're just going to sleep in the house.
There's a lot of weird assumptions, period, in this episode. Andrew wants to make sure it's okay he came. The time to ask about that is before he came, but whatever. Phoebe complains about the curtains, and this is the only moment in the episode where she kind of reveals herself to be slightly crappy, but it's mostly just a joke anyway. Maggie leaves to check out the guest rooms, and Phoebe wonders how she's gonna tell Maggie something, and we don't know what this is just yet, but we will.
Now, based on the episode description and that line, which that line was in the trailer for this episode, I thought maybe something happened to Walter.
Right.
Like something medically bad.
You would assume that she would have already been informed if something like that happened.
Right? Especially since, like, isn't her case still, well... Yeah, her case is still ongoing, right? With that.
I thought that was settled.
It was the other thing that was settled, the lawsuit with the hospital.
Right.
But this was her practice with Bob, not Bob Mann, Bob
Hollis?
Bob Hollis, thank you. Played by Bob Mann. That's still ongoing as far as we know.
I think so.
I mean, and he's being indicted in that same thing. So
no, wait. I thought Maggie was cleared of that. Maggie isn't.
She was cleared as far as they said she's not involved in it, but the case itself is ongoing.
Yeah, that is ongoing for sure.
And she's part of it, even if she's not implicated in it. Like she's a witness, she's going to be involved in the case. I would imagine it was her practice,
right?
So my point is, she should have probably gotten wind of this.
I mean, you would think so. Wouldn't this be news?
It'd be big news,
right?
Probably. Like, he's a big deal, right? And doesn't she have, like, other friends in Boston that maybe tell her things? Mm-hmm. Like, we're given the impression that she has no people in her life.
Right.
Other than these people that she just reconnected with after 15 years or whatever.
Well, I feel sorry for her because the people that she had before she connected with all these people are all crappy.
Right, because nobody called her to tell her this, right?
Yep. So Sully and Frank talk, still under the impression that Phoebe is here to help, but Sully still has plenty of bad feelings directed at his ex-wife. Frank takes this moment to say he should talk to Lola soon, and I'm like, all right, Frank, is this really the time to be bringing this up? I mean, like...
Well, the point he has is he's having a hard time keeping secrets from Edna.
Oh yeah, okay. But still...
And I see that right now because Edna's already in a really bad mood about Phoebe.
Right.
He's basically saying, you're putting me in a tough spot.
Yes.
Because there's so much going on right now, and I don't want to be the keeper of these secrets.
Well, speak of the devil, and she shall appear, though Lola is not that bad this episode.
She's not that bad in this episode, and you know what? I thought this... 2 times in this episode, somebody walked up, and I'm like, oh, they overheard that.
Yeah.
And then neither time, that's where they went with it.
You would think so, because she had to have been within earshot.
Did she not hear him say, you gotta tell Phoebe? Or you
Lola?
gotta tell Lola?
Yeah.
That's what I was expecting, was like, you gotta tell me what?
Right.
But no, we don't do that. And then later, we have a very similar situation with Cal and Andrew. I'm like, did he not just hear that?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, yeah. So Lola is there to tell Sully that she's going to sell Roy's place to help him with his financial problems. He won't let her do it, and is suddenly changing his tune about taking Walter and Phoebe's help.
Yeah, he's like, don't worry, the cavalry's here to help.
Right.
You just go worry about finishing school.
Right, yeah.
Which I get. Like, you don't want to take her house.
No,
but
absolutely.
Also, you're just kind of still trying to hide the thing you have to tell her.
Right, yeah. So Sydney finds Rob overwhelmed at work because Clover is useless.
Clover's MIA again.
Yeah.
So this character is introduced, and I think we've only seen her twice so far.
Yeah, and it's been 6 episodes. Sydney wants to temporarily move things back into Rob until she can go to New York. Rob says sure. She suggests that he should give... Oh, okay, no. He suggests that she should give Rafe a chance.
Yeah, and he specifically says, I talked to him. That's the scene that we didn't get to see, by the way, that the CW cut.
But we know exists. He suggests that he might have more to do... So he suggests that this might have something to do with what happened to his manager, that it really messed her up, the fact that she was dating her manager, which I think is like the first time we've just out and out said that. But we still don't exactly know.
We don't know exactly what happened. Something bad happened, right?
And Sydney is basically like, are you done? Basically he's like, I really need you to support my decisions. And Rob is like, yeah, sure. I'll just support your decisions.
Yeah.
Whatever. And she still needs help breaking the news to Finn and asks if she can hang out with Finn later.
Yeah, so she can tell him that she's leaving. You know what I found really interesting in this scene about Sydney is she walks in and immediately she starts helping.
I did notice
she's
that.
She's clearing dishes off of the bar while she's talking to her brother.
Old habits are hard to break.
I mean, she's awesome.
Yes.
And she shouldn't leave.
No, absolutely. You've made this argument several times already. She should stay here and do some modeling and help out Rob.
And join the search and rescue
of course,
and run the outpost and, just do all the things.
Yeah. So Cal comes, clearly the one thing that she should not be doing is bookmaking, or bookkeeping rather, because she was really bad at that apparently. So Cal comes and finds Sully. He didn't know about Phoebe, the fact that she is now here, and he says every time he gets close to Maggie, she starts to push him away, and Sully says, "Don't make the same mistake I did. Keep fighting for her."
Yeah,
and I do really enjoy this scene.
Yeah, if you didn't know already, Sully makes it very clear he is Team Cal.
Yeah.
And is not going to give Andrew a chance.
And he's basically like, he warns Cal, and I didn't know if he was going to say anything about this, but he did. He was like, hey, warning, Andrew is in town.
And it had some choice words to say about him.
Yes,
I didn't quote exactly what they were, but he was like, her bleep, 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 bleep X is here.
Right, yes. So Connie gets a haircut with her new hairdresser, Alyssa, that we met in a couple episodes ago.
Hurricane
episode. Yep.
So this is Alyssa's salon, so she's come back to get her hair done. And they talk about Tom and her marriage and her divorce, and she said she never really loved Tom.
Now, I didn't exactly love the fact that we were doing those scenes in those previous episodes, but I gotta say that I did really enjoy these scenes. I thought they did add some depth to Connie and make her an interesting character.
Yeah, we're getting to see stuff with her.
Right, in a way
finally.
that they haven't really done up to this point.
And again, this is... Alyssa is played by Michelle Nolden, reprising the role.
So, we have Phoebe breaking the news to Maggie. She's not actually here to help, and it's not because she doesn't want to, it's because she can't. She is broke because Walter was arrested for fraud, her bank accounts are frozen, so she is in no position to help. And it's because of the whole Bob thing. Now, it's really weird because I honestly didn't think we were dealing with this thread again this season.
Yeah.
And that we're doing it without actually seeing Bob Hollis.
Right. So Bob tried warning her if she would have listened to him for 2 seconds. He tried telling her this. I sure hope we actually get to see Bob.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because, of course, we love Bob Mann here, a friend of the channel.
Yep.
And we want to see more of him. And the way he answered the question when we kind of asked about that, I got the impression we're not going to see him this season.
I mean, Internet Movie Database backs that up.
Yeah, but
he's not in the credits, but that doesn't mean anything
for this
right?
series very much. But he kind of insinuated we might get back to it in future seasons. Is what I got out of his not direct answer to the question.
Right. So Maggie doesn't take this news well. Andrew comes down and is like, "Oh, you told her? What did you think that I need a minute?"
Right?
Down here means.
Like, what are we here for?
Like, what the hell, Andrew? Okay, so that's not too terrible, but still, it's like.
But Maggie gets upset with Andrew because she's like, "You knew about this and you didn't tell me." Now, I don't blame him for not telling her. Next time we see them together, he does explain your mom made me promise I'd let her tell you, and I get that. I
don't have a problem with that.
Right.
It's everything else about Andrew in this episode.
It's just Andrew.
being fair here. Andrew isn't wrong not to tell Maggie when he was sworn to secrecy,
right?
And to let his mother,
let her mother,
let her mother.
He acts like it's his mother,
right? Yeah. But yeah, let her do it, and he respects that. And it's the only time that I find him even remotely respectful for the rest of the episode. But we'll get there.
And so Maggie's upset, and she does the thing that she does, and she goes for a run.
Yes, Cal and Rob share a scene now. I am very happy to see that these guys have shared so many scenes this season. Because we saw them together in the last season. I think it was the season finale.
Right, the season finale. They had a really great scene where they were talking about their shared experiences where, they both lost wives. And, there should be a great friendship there. They have so much in common,
Mm-hmm. And we get it demonstrated here.
Yeah, and they've definitely become much closer friends since that conversation.
Yes. So they talk about their mutual problems, Rob with Sydney and Cal with Maggie.
Yeah, and I found it really funny that Rob's he's like, I'm having women trouble too.
Right.
That's not what that means.
with his sister?
I found that to be a really weird line.
Yeah.
You don't usually describe, like, a family problem as women trouble.
I mean, yeah, you're right. You're definitely right. It's not the same thing at all.
And it's funny because Cal wasn't like, oh, what's going on with Jane? He knew he was talking about Sydney.
Right, yeah.
Like, that was weird. Maybe this is the reason you're having women trouble, is because you think your sister is women trouble.
So, Rob mentions crowdfunding, which is interesting, that Rafe, I think, and Jackson, or was it Connie and Jackson?
It was Lola and somebody.
Well, and
Lola's
Jackson
name was involved in it.
Jackson was too.
It was Lola and somebody.
Okay.
Did crowdfunding for something. last year.
All right, well, anyway, he mentions the crowdfunding idea, which I think you brought up at some point.
I might have.
Yeah.
Whatever they're going to do, they need to do it, because we have
Right.
less than 2 weeks left, and they don't seem too concerned about raising money.
And clearly the solution is not Walter at this point.
Right, but these characters don't know that yet.
Right. So they decide to meet at a bar later, and this is the bar scene that everybody's going to be at later in this episode.
Yeah, so Rob invites Cal to go let off some steam at the new bar, and he says great, and they're going to go have a good time.
So Maggie runs. She ends up calling Walter. He tries to explain, but Maggie breaks down, saying that she used to look up to him all her life, and then she starts screaming. So this conversation does not go
She hangs
very
up
well.
on him. She doesn't want to hear an explanation. What she wanted was a denial. She
Right.
wanted him to be like, no, it's not true. I'm going to, work this out. I was falsely accused. He didn't deny it.
Right.
He was like, let me explain. And now remember, this isn't just like her father figure letting her down. This literally ruined her career.
Yes.
It closed her medical practice that she was a partner in.
Right. And that was the same point I was just about to make, so you made that.
On top of it being like, he's
A person
the
that-
person that
yeah.
she cares about.
Yeah. So, Petey...
And, what are you doing to her mother as well, now that she's, like, destitute and here with no place to go?
Right. So Phoebe tries to patch things up with Edna, but Edna is pretty much ice cold. I can't say I really blame her, because the story here is that she basically not just left Sully, but she also kind of like just froze Edna completely out.
Yeah,
without a
so
single
she
word.
took Maggie and left, and they never heard from her again.
So,
And we know Edna thinks of Maggie like a daughter to her as well.
Right.
They were all really close when Maggie was a kid.
So if I'm Phoebe, how exactly do you expect this is going to go, given the fact that you froze her completely out? You expect her to
and
just...
it's been, I don't know how old Maggie's supposed to be, but it's been at least a decade.
Yeah.
I'd say at least 15 years, probably. About 15 years.
So Sully ends up coming in, which is when Phoebe reveals that Walter is arrested and she has nowhere else to go. Alyssa finishes with Connie's hair. Connie's sad that no one else is going to be able to see it. Why not exactly? I'm a little confused by that. I mean,
Well, she meant like I'm not doing anything today.
oh, okay. So
So when you get your hair done, it's great that day. And sure, it's a new hairdo, like for the next couple weeks or whatever, but it's really only great that day.
okay. So that's a piece of female lore that I have yet to receive. All right. So this is why we do this channel, so that I can get educated on stuff like this. All right. So Alyssa ends up inviting her out to the bar later that day.
Yes, where she's going to go with one of her friends.
Andrew finds Maggie, and this is the only scene in him that he's even vaguely tolerable.
I'm going to disagree.
No, he's not even tolerable
I
here.
mean, he's better than some of the other scenes.
Yeah.
Because there's nobody else around for him to, like, screw up with.
I said vaguely tolerable. I didn't say
Okay,
he
so
was tolerable.
let's talk about the scene and then I'll tell you the problem with it.
All right, so Maggie is like, Maggie, I'm worried about you, like he's been saying all season long.
And she opens up to him. She's like, I called Walter. I wanted him to deny it, but he didn't. And she's really upset and she's crying. And he's like, hey, I'm here for you. Right?
Yep. And they end up kissing. He apologizes. She says not to worry about it. But now, Andrew, you need to apologize to me because, you do need to be worried about me.
Okay, so here's the problem with this scene. Which,
Okay.
from the sentence you just said, I think you missed it.
Okay.
They didn't kiss. He kissed her.
Okay.
He leaned over and kissed her. Mm-hmm. And what he's apologizing for is kissing her.
Yes.
And she's like, it's okay. But it wasn't okay. She did not want that kiss.
Right.
It was not an equally they kissed each other. He leaned over and kissed her.
Gotcha.
When she has made it clear she wants nothing to do with him at this point.
Yeah. I mean, he does not yet know about the fact that
he was going to tell her. She was going to tell him.
Yeah.
She was going to tell him, and he cut her off, wouldn't let her talk, and then he kissed her.
Mm-hmm.
So not only is he not even allowing her to be part of this conversation he's trying to have with her, he's being Andrew. So no, I don't cut him any slack in this scene.
Okay, so
because otherwise he would have been told the truth, and maybe they could have shared a real kiss. But instead, he's just trying to control the entire situation of their relationship
because he still has this romantic fantasy running around in his mind.
Right.
So Phoebe can't book a flight home. Sully asks Phoebe what's going on. She reveals what happened with Walter. Sully gives her some crap and then apologizes for it and says she can stay here, but don't expect the red carpet treatment.
Yeah.
And I think all this is fair.
Right, it is fair. But you know what? You can stay here for 2 weeks, because you know what? Then we're all getting kicked out. Let's not forget that.
Right. So Sydney is at the playscape. She breaks the news to Finn. He seems to take it well, asking if he can visit her in New York and visit the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, is not.
And she's like, I think maybe you mean the Statue of Liberty.
Right.
But she's like, yeah, of course you can visit me, and that seems to be okay for him.
Okay.
Now, something I did find interesting, though. A lot of interesting Sydney stuff this week for me. So she's telling him, and she's like, but if you don't want me to go, I won't, because I love you and I want you to be okay with it. She's literally telling this child, if you don't want me to go, I'll stay. And she said something very similar to Maggie about, abandoning Maggie during her pregnancy. And she said to Maggie, if you want me to stay, I will. It's almost like she's begging somebody to ask her to stay.
Well, I mean, Rafe has done it. That's not good enough for her, apparently.
That's not good enough. Now, she also, at the same time, that's my other thing, is she's not giving the same consideration to Rafe or to Rob. She's telling both of them, support me, I gotta do what I gotta do. But she's telling
Maggie and Finn,
if you don't want me to go, I will stay.
That is an interesting insight.
Right?
I don't know what it means exactly, but
there's something there that she's willing to stay to support these people, but she's not willing to stay to help her brother, and she's not willing to stay to explore her feelings with Rafe.
Interesting.
Although I really think she wants to stay.
Yeah.
I really think she wants a real reason to stay.
Okay.
And I'm really curious what would have happened if Finn was like, "No, you can't leave."
I would like to see an alternate scene and see how that goes. That plays out for sure. So Sully prepares dinner for Andrew, Maggie, and Phoebe. Phoebe and him are getting along. Andrew talks to Sully. Okay, this scene. Oh my god. Okay, so Sully once again gets Andrew's name wrong.
Yeah, on purpose, and he calls him Angelo in this scene. So we have this recurring thing every time they're together. He calls him by a different name on purpose because he's refusing to give him the respect of saying his name properly.
Right, and then Andrew says, "Oh, it's Andrew, but I understand you've had some memory problems recently."
Right.
And then he brings up, you should open up in your... Oh, what am I talking about? You have your AA meetings. All right. If Andrew's intention was to roast Sully, he's doing a very good job.
Right. He's rubbing the fact that he knows about the alcoholism in his face.
But he's actually trying to get on Sully's good side.
Is he?
I think he is.
I mean, he should be, but
I think that's what he's trying to do.
In this scene, I don't think he is.
But I actually think he is. I think he thinks he's trying to be a good guy, but just completely failing because he's a piece of shit.
I don't know. In this scene, it felt like he's just giving it to him.
Right.
All because he's upset that Sully refuses to call him by the right name.
Maybe, but I literally think that Andrew thinks that he's a good guy and that he is...
He definitely thinks he's a good guy.
And I think he's trying to get in good with Sully here, and he doesn't know how to do it because he's a pile of steaming garbage. So yeah, I mean, if his like I said, if his intention is to roast him, he does a pretty damn good job. But if his intention is to get good with Scully, total fail.
You just said Scully.
I meant Sully. Scully being a character on the X-Files, not in this series. But okay, so... All right.
So we go to the Timber Lounge.
Yes.
This is the brand new axe throwing bar that just opened in town.
So Rob, Cal, and Rafe are doing some axe throwing. I have never actually done this.
Yeah.
I imagine I would do something.
We have virtual axe throwing right down the street at the sports bar down the street.
Oh yeah, okay. I thought that was real axe throwing.
It's virtual. They have virtual all kinds of stuff there.
We should try that.
There are real axe throwing things around.
Yeah.
but like the virtual one's literally down the street.
Yeah, I was actually kind of curious about checking it out. We should do that sometime.
We should go sometime.
Yeah. Maybe we can invite, Rob and Rafe and Cal.
I don't think they're going to make the trip for that.
Okay.
But,
So Cal ends up getting a dead center despite claiming he's never done it. Beginner's luck.
So, okay, I watched the scene a couple times because at first I was like, oh, this person did great and this person didn't. And then I'm like, well, wait. So the very first scene is Rob and Rafe throw together at the same time, which I thought was weird because why do they have 2 lanes and then suddenly they only have 1 lane? But anyways, so in the first one, Rob kills it.
Yeah.
He got it dead center. Rafe missed it completely.
So
then Cal killed it.
Yeah.
And they're like, wow, you're amazing. But Rob just did the same thing and nobody thought he was amazing. Okay.
I think he's amazing.
But Cal's like, I guess I just know my way around an axe. Well, yeah, we've seen him using an axe plenty of times.
Right, yes. I mean, literally every other scene last season was him chopping wood.
Right.
Yeah.
Even this season, I think he's done it a couple times. It's his thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's the quintessential Cal, is he's just, like...
chopping wood.
Shirtless chopping wood. And then Rafe completely missed that first one. The second one, he gets right on the edge. So he's kind of sucking out of the 3 of them.
Well,
Rafe's doing the worst.
He did that because Rob is behind him talking about Sydney going to New York.
Okay. See,
so
I missed that.
I think that screwed up Rafe in that particular moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then Rob has his second attempt and totally flops it.
Which is what I would do.
And they're like, oh, I just need more practice. But he did the first one perfect. So, I don't know. I feel like that was a little weird.
Maybe that wasn't supposed to be there.
We're acting like he's doing terrible when he just, like, got the first one perfect.
So Cal ends up asking about Jane, and Rob says he's out of practice. This is a different excuse than the one he was using
he doesn't think he's going to ask her out.
Rob, so we already covered that. So back at the Sully's residence, Andrew asks about Tylenol. Maggie says it's in her purse. Okay, Maggie, you're a dope.
Yeah.
You have a picture of a sonogram in your purse.
I mean, even if that wasn't there, why are you sending this man into your purse?
Right.
Go get it for him.
Right.
I mean, I would send you into my purse.
Sure.
As my best friend. And every time you're like, here's your whole purse. I'm not getting through there. But no, you don't send your ex rummaging through your purse. That's weird.
Right. So, yeah, he ends up asking, is it his? And Maggie's like, of course it is. He seems really happy. That makes one of us. I'm definitely not.
And he's like, when are you going to tell me? And she says, I want to do it in person. Which, I guess that makes sense. But also, we know she's been totally avoiding it and wasn't eager to go see him in person to tell him this.
So Andrew says he wants to be a part of this if she'll let him. And, she agrees to that.
She kind of nods. But also, he's acting like they're getting married now.
Right. He's based on everything else for the rest of the episode, he's acting like a completely different conversation happened than what actually did.
Like, we're
right
together and we're happy and we're having a baby.
Right.
That conversation has not happened.
Right.
She was like, yeah, I'll let you in our lives. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean they're together and playing house.
Right. Exactly. So,
and also, important to note, she was like, he's getting excited, and she shushed him. She's like, I haven't told my parents yet.
Oh, yeah.
Meaning,
we'll get that.
Shush.
Right.
Okay, she told him. Shh. Quiet. I haven't told them yet. Meaning, I don't know, maybe let her tell them.
Yeah, believe me, I had shit to say about that. But okay, so Andrew's shit in this scene. Moving on. Connie and Lola show up at axe throwing with Alyssa and her friend Mac. I was kind of curious about this friendship, but it's not like she gets any lines or any...
Mac is Alyssa's friend, played by Marietta Lawn, and we know her.
We do.
We do. She was Zoe in the movie Halloween Party.
Okay.
The one that, gets splatted right at the beginning.
Splat. She went a
the
splat.
The one who's spoiler alert, it was her closet that was haunted.
Right. Okay.
Zoe.
All right.
And she was in 2 episodes of Chapel Wait. And
I think we knew that she was going to appear in the series. When
we did, yeah. Because remember, we're getting this like a year after it actually aired in Canada. Yeah. So we're like, she's going to pop up in Sullivan's Crossing somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
And we'll have to look out for her, and here she is. And she also was background in Kids vs. Aliens.
Okay, so we've talked about... Well, did we talk about the fact that she was in that movie?
Yes, I read every background actor in that movie.
Okay, so we definitely...
Because there were so many of them that, we know their names, so I read them all. Because that movie had about 1 billion listings on IMDb for background, which is also unique for them all to be listed like that. So I read them all. But yeah, I instantly recognized her picture. I was like, oh, wait, we know her.
Right.
Yeah, so that's her friend, Mac.
All right, so Andrew and Maggie show up for dinner. They go downstairs for dinner, and Sully and Phoebe are already there. And Andrew decides to make an announcement without clearing it with Maggie first.
Yeah, he's like, we have an announcement to make. And Maggie's like, what are you doing?
Like, jackass is my literal note here.
And he's like, listen, your parents could use some good news. And she reluctantly agrees. She's like, okay.
Well,
she's about to tell them. At
this point, how do you not tell them?
Right.
There's no backing out of it at this point.
But she's about to tell them.
Right.
She's like, And then he cuts her off again and just blurts it out. Listen, let her tell them.
Right.
Even now that you forced it's going to happen right now, he still didn't even let her get the words out and took it over.
Right.
Right, like in the middle of all that.
So both Sully and Phoebe are happy, despite the fact that it's fucking Andrew that it's
Phoebe
with.
was very excited. Sully was a little reluctant, and we know it's because of Andrew.
Right.
He's reluctant about. And he's like, he asked Maggie, he's like, are you happy?
Right.
Like, he wants to make sure that she's, on board with this whole situation.
And this is my favorite bit here. Sully asks that it's great that there's going to be another Sullivan coming, and Andrew is like, oh, actually, it's going to be a Matthews.
Right.
That is way presumptuous. Once again, you two are not officially back together yet.
Right.
The status of your relationship...
you don't know what the baby's name is going to be.
Right.
But even if the baby is named after you as the father of this baby, it's still a Sullivan.
Right.
Even if its name's not Sullivan.
This little bit here is totally unnecessarily jackassy from Andrew. Anyway, so if you're trying to ingratiate yourself with Sully, you're, once again, failing. If you're trying to ingratiate yourself with me... Well, you have no chance of that.
How about with Maggie? Which should be his ultimate goal here.
Right, yeah.
He's acting like, oh, well, you're pregnant with my child, so I won.
By the way, this work that you're doing on yourself, it's not enough. Just saying.
No, it's not enough.
So Lola notices the guys that are axe throwing. That would be Cal and, of course, Rob and Rafe. And she takes Mac over to introduce them. Connie ends up explaining her backstory with her family. Yeah, because
Alyssa's like, aren't you here to go talk to those good-looking guys?
Right.
See, I don't think that Connie has right out and said that she's interested in women. Mm-hmm. And I think almost all of the dialogue this episode between these two is them kind of feeling that out with each other.
Right.
Because it's clear to us as the viewer, like, where this is going.
Right.
But I don't think either of them are really sure yet.
I mean, we are the watchers of television shows, so we kind of know how these things go. She
explains that Rafe's basically like her brother and how she ended up living with his family, and it's because her family had some closed-minded views, and she couldn't stay living with them anymore.
Interesting statement, and would love to see that more explored. This actually made me interested in Connie. These scenes this week, whereas previously I didn't really care about her that much. Because we didn't really explore her
and
enough.
I wonder how many scenes have been cut that we didn't get to see in the U.S.
Now that we know that, there's a whole ton of things that maybe were fleshed out more that we have not gotten a chance to see.
Right, because, an editor that's, trying to cut 2 minutes off of an episode might not be invested enough in the actual series to know that, hey, this 2 lines of dialogue here was actually really important to the overall series.
Right. So we cut to Andrew, who goes to apologize to Sully for whatever he did to offend him. Was that this episode or the entire series? I'm not sure.
And I do give him props for he keeps apologizing to people. I give him that. He thinks he's trying.
Yes.
But he's like, whatever I did, he has no idea what he's done.
How about just being an utter and total piece
how about everything you've done in the last hour to start with?
Yeah, that's just the last hour. You're right. So Sully tells him, I thank you for the apology, but it's not necessary because you see, there's something you need to understand. You and I, we're never going to be family. And, you're just not right for my daughter. And
he's like, I'm sure you're a nice guy, but you're not right for my daughter. And,
wow.
Andrew, I don't think he was expecting that.
No, and I wasn't expecting Sully to be that honest, and I thank him for it because he's a total, utter jackass.
But what he really needs to be honest is sit Maggie down and be like, I think you need to date Cal.
Okay, but he can't do that. What woman is going to be like, okay, you think I should date Cal? Okay, cool, I'm going to go.
Well, he should express that point of view.
I mean, sure.
He's expressed it to Cal plenty. He hasn't expressed it to Maggie.
I mean, maybe because he thinks, no, you know what you should do? You should express his disapproval of Cal and make him more appealing to her. Because, women will be like, oh, I'm going to rebel against my dad. Anyway, moving along.
I don't think Maggie would.
No, probably not. But, yeah, so this upsets Andrew. He claims that Maggie and him were happy before he came here. Were you, Andrew? Were you really?
No, because she was trying to break up with him in the pilot.
Right.
She was like, no, I don't want to move in with you.
So I think you're living in some kind of fantasy land there, Andrew. And he ends up leaving. Before he goes,
he's upset. He says he needs to get a drink.
Right. Maggie asks, what's wrong, and he says, why don't you ask your dad? So Maggie asks Sully, what'd you say to him? Sully doesn't answer, and we get zero resolution to this.
Yeah.
Somehow Sully gets away with not saying exactly what he said.
Yeah, because he never does.
Right.
He's really bad at communicating with the people he cares about.
But Maggie just kind of accepts this and
yeah, so the next time we see her, she's like tossing and turning in bed. So she goes to bed having no idea what's going on and knows everybody's fighting, and it's not good for her. And it's not good for the baby. Right. No. All these men in her life, all of them, need to get their act together and start communicating better. Right.
The one who is the one she's not talking to, though. So Rob and Cal end up drinking together. When Cal notices Jane, and Rob does end up going to talk to her, and he's like, "Well, I guess if I should tell her what my feelings are." And I didn't know that Rob had any feelings, but good to know.
Feelings that he's interested in getting to know her, I think, is as far as we've gotten.
Okay,
so far.
I mean, the way he states it, it's like he's in love with her.
And again, I think we've had scenes cut.
Yeah.
Because we've only met Jane one time before here in the CW US land. She's been in credits for like 3 episodes. Yeah. And we haven't seen any other scenes with her. So I'm guessing there were other scenes with her that we haven't seen. Pure speculation. And this is Jane is being reprised by Cindy Sampson.
So Cal ends up smiling, clearly happy for his friend. Maggie ends up checking in with Phoebe. Maggie asks if he regrets leaving Sully, if she regrets leaving Sully, and if she's going to end up leaving Walter. And, Phoebe's answers are pretty interesting here.
Yeah, she basically insinuates that she regrets leaving Sully.
Yeah.
Without saying any of those words. She's like, I just want to do what was best for you, and I have to live with my decisions.
And she's been advised to divorce Walter, but she isn't sure if that's
what she's been advised by her lawyers, because that's the best way for her to get out of this and to get her money back is to disassociate herself with him.
So Rob ends up talking to Jane, and it's very quick. She's very quick to be like, oh, why don't we come back to my place for a nightcap?
Yeah, she's all over this.
So that didn't take much effort on Rob's part.
It sure didn't. Like, she's been trying, you know?
So Connie does well at axe throwing. Alyssa ends up going to the bathroom. Lola goes to get drinks. And an ass who apparently knows her ex-husband.
Yeah, a friend of Tom's. He's credited as man number 1. He is played by Craig Gunn. Craig was in the movie Creepy Crawling, which we've brought up a few times on this podcast. And he was in a documentary called Escaping the NXIVM Cult, which actually does pop up in a lot of people's IMDb's.
That's an actual cult.
But it's a documentary.
Yeah, okay.
But a lot of people that have been in this series and in From, that is on their IMDb's, but it's not one I usually note.
It makes sense. You know why?
Why?
Because Allison Mack was in Smallville, which was filmed in Canada, and she was like basically high up in that cult. Okay. Yeah, she ended up like going to jail over it. So it actually makes sense that a lot of people who are in Canada would end up in that.
Well, I mean, obviously they must have filmed it in Nova Scotia for it to keep popping up so much. Right. But I usually don't include that one just because that's a lot of words to say, and so I find other things to say.
Gotcha.
But it made the list this time.
All right.
So yeah, man number 1 approaches Connie.
I almost forgot where I was going with the punchline for this, but yeah, he basically decides to be an ass, saying, I guess you're back to your old tricks, playing for the other team. And this upsets her enough to basically want to leave.
Yeah, and he goes even a step further, and he hits on her, and he's like, let me know when you change your mind again.
Right. Is this like Andrew's protege? I mean, you know what the problem is? This guy is a jackass, and he knows it. Andrew actually thinks he's a good guy.
Sure.
And I think that's a significant difference between the two.
Yeah.
If that
Now,
makes
Connie
sense.
doesn't tell anybody what's bothering her. But she tells Lola she's got to go home. Lola's a great person, a great friend, and she's like, let me come with you.
Mm-hmm.
And Connie turns her down and is like, nah, I don't want to ruin your evening, too. Now, I didn't know that Connie and Lola were such good friends, by the way, before this episode.
I think we might have seen them together.
Like, we've seen everybody together socializing.
Right.
But, like, the two of them going out for drinks together
Right.
felt like, oh, there wasn't anybody else to be her friend in this
Right.
scene.
So, Cal is outside, clearly drunk. Rob and Jane passing by. They're going to go home. And Cal ends up calling Maggie, gets her voicemail, and he says he wants to explain what he said about not wanting to be a father. And who should be behind him but Andrew?
Right.
And like you said earlier, how does Andrew not?
Yeah, I
overhear?
totally thought, like, oh, that's what happened here is Andrew just heard him saying that to Maggie. So now, in my head, Andrew thinks that Maggie told Cal before telling him, and they're going to have a big fight.
Right.
Which isn't the case. But it also isn't what happened. We act like Andrew didn't hear any of that.
Right. So Andrew apologizes for how things ended the last time they saw each other. Cal says, all good, though he's not exactly thrilled to be saying it. So here's the difference here. Andrew thinks he's a good guy. Cal actually is one.
Sure.
He thinks he should apologize to Rafe and Lola as well, offering to buy everyone around, and Cal is going along with this despite the fact that I'm sure this is the last person he wants to be hanging out with.
Yeah, but he's like, yeah, sure, let's go do it. And Alyssa and Mac leave.
Yep.
Notably so that we don't have to explain to them what this is all about.
Right. So Cal, who clearly hates this man that he's bringing in, but is too good of a guy to say anything. He says he's sure, brings him in. Andrew ends up apologizing to a clearly uncomfortable Rafe, and Lola is standing there as well. I don't think she actually cares about any of this, but so Cal indicates.
But, I mean, they were both there,
right?
That last time, the fight in the bar.
But we see Cal make like a little face that's like, it's okay to accept this guy's apology. You'll note that he makes this little facial expression that gives Rafe the all clear to accept this apology. Once again, Cal is actually a good guy. Andrew, not so much.
But he is apologizing.
He is.
Which tells me he is, like, working with somebody. He's in some kind of anger management program or something. Like, this feels like a STEPS program where he has to make amends with people.
Okay. Are you actually defending Andrew here?
I'm just saying I can tell that he has been doing something
Okay.
that has led him to want to make all these apologies. Now,
Okay.
he's failing at it.
Yes.
But I can see that he is working on himself.
Okay.
Like, again, he's being prompted by something that he needs to apologize to people.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't understand what he's apologizing for, and he's not sincere about it, but he is taking the steps to say, I apologize. So that's something.
So if he doesn't actually know what he's apologizing for, then it's
I mean, he knows he's apologizing for punching him, but I don't think he understands, like, what a crappy guy he ever has been.
All right, so Phoebe is eating ice cream, and Sully ends up joining her. They seem to bond over being grandparents. Sully says he hopes he's a better grandfather than a father. And Phoebe says he wasn't a bad father. And he says, well, nope, just a bad husband. And then Sully asks, why wasn't the crossing good enough for you? And Sully says, taking Maggie away broke his heart. And she apologizes, but Sully says it's late and he's going to get some sleep. So, nice little beginning of a conversation here. It'd be nice if we continued it, though.
Yeah, they definitely have a lot of things to
talk about
mm-hmm. that they haven't done in 15 years.
Right. And, I can't really judge Phoebe for what she did in terms of leaving Sully. Because he was clearly an alcoholic.
Right.
And it was clearly not healthy.
It was a bad situation.
Yeah, so I think leaving wasn't necessarily the worst thing
But
in the
I think the bigger problem than her leaving is the fact
keeping
that
Maggie away.
Yeah, it was like cold turkey, you're not in her life anymore.
Right.
And throughout the rest of her life, never made any effort to let him in any capacity. Like, he wasn't having phone calls with her.
Right.
There weren't any visits other than the one time. We know one time she went to visit him and it went really bad. And we still haven't learned what the heck that was about.
Right.
Like, one time when she was a teenager, she went and it went really bad. It had something to do with, like, she was jealous of Lola or whatever. But we didn't get, like, the details of what exactly happened during that visit. And And then there was like one scene I remember we had a flashback of them in a bar, like Phoebe and Sully in a bar, and
where he was clearly doing better.
He was doing better, and he's like asking to see his daughter, and she's just like, nope.
And that was Walter's influence,
right?
Which is still weak sauce. Like, you should have the agency to ignore Walter and give this man
some kind of access to his daughter.
Yes.
Whether,
especially since
whatever that access is, sure, that can be discussed, because if you really do think he's like a drunk and dangerous, maybe you don't want to just send her to Canada to hang out with him alone. But it feels like there wasn't any communication or any effort to try and come up with any kind of a system to have him in her life at all.
Yeah.
To the point where he thought that the girl didn't want to be in his life.
Right.
And she really had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
She was like, her dad was never mentioned to her. Ever since the day that she left.
All right, so Andrew drinks with the gang, and then Andrew decides to be an asshole for a final time in this episode because this is not his place to announce this.
So Rafe cheers to old friends and new.
Yeah.
Andrew takes that as acceptance. And they're trying to accept that we're hanging out and having a drink together.
All right.
And he's like, this is as good a time as any to tell you my big news.
Right. Okay, Andrew, first of all, these are more Maggie's friends
They are
than
100%
yours.
her friends.
So this is, once again, her place to tell these people, not you.
The best time as any.
Right.
Not your big news.
Right.
No.
So he ends up telling him, and Cal...
He's like, Maggie and I are having a baby.
Cal has absolutely zero poker face here. He is just totally destroyed by this news. And
he's trying to get with Maggie.
Right.
He knows Maggie doesn't want anything to do with Andrew.
And he knows that this conversation about fatherhood recently came up.
Suddenly,
he's
connecting
the dots. Yeah.
And he realizes if he had just like approached that conversation a little bit differently,
right,
he might be with Maggie right now.
At the same time, how much do you blame Cal for that? Because
no, I don't blame Cal, but I know he's upset.
Yeah.
About the course of events.
Yeah.
And obviously he's upset that she's pregnant with Andrew's child, and it sounds like they're back together based on what Andrew's saying.
I am also upset about those things because I cannot stand fucking Andrew in any way. And I figured I'd get one of the last fucking Andrew out there before concluding this podcast today. Because Andrew is literally the worst human being.
Why would he think that was a good idea?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, these...
And maybe he did hear Cal on the phone. And maybe this is his way of shoving it in Cal's face. You're not going to be a father. I'm going to be a father.
That makes sense.
Without actually having a direct confrontation.
He does look directly at Cal with that funny little expression. Like he's looking to gauge Cal's reaction specifically.
Yeah.
And he has that funny looking smile on his face that I don't even know how to describe. So maybe this is just his way of being petty rather than actually trying to have these people be happy for him.
Yeah. And Lola does a great job of pretending to care. She's like, wow, congratulations, Andrew.
Right, yeah.
And I think Rafe just kind of looks dumbfounded, what's happening?
Right, Rafe doesn't give a shit. But yeah, I mean, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is where the episode ends. I am very curious to see where we're going from here.
So in the trailer for next week, which I know you don't see those because you don't catch the live feed.
Yes.
I don't know why. None of these networks include the trailers with the streaming. They only include it in the linear broadcast.
You would figure they would do that.
But in the trailer, the only thing that I picked out of it is we do see Maggie kind of yelling at him and being like, it wasn't your place to tell people.
Right.
So she is going to come down on Andrew for
this.
Good.
He fucking deserves it.
So here's my note. Andrew, just know. And Maggie, please don't let this man be around in season 3. I want him off of this cast list. If he's going to be an occasional guest star because of the baby, fine. But he needs to not be on the main cast list anymore. He wasn't in season 1. He is in season 2.
I didn't realize he was even main cast.
He is. He's main cast, and so is Linda Boyd. Phoebe.
So wait a second here.
For season 2.
Andrew is main cast, and Reed Price still isn't?
Well, no, he's main cast too.
Oh, he is.
They're both that secondary main cast.
Gotcha. Okay.
Where their names are in every episode.
Gotcha.
Whether they're in it or not, but they're not in the let me show your picture at the beginning.
Gotcha.
Part of the cast.
Gotcha.
So it's I don't know how to classify it. They're the secondary main cast, but they're not like the additional cast at the end of the episode. They're still their names are at the front of the episode, like on the bottom as the scene's playing, not in the, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I gotta say, though, it is a lot of fun talking about how much of a terrible human being Andrew is.
But you did notice, like, this season, he is in every episode, basically. Like, there's a phone call with him every episode.
Yes, which I've been overjoyed by.
Yeah, and I think that's wise, because he's considered, like, part of the main
I
cast.
become physically ill every time he appears on screen. I have to have a trash can nearby in case I want to vomit when I see him. Okay, not really, but, you know, pretty much.
Okay, and the other thing is, we have less than 2 weeks into the auction. We're 0 steps closer to raising any money or coming up with a solution to raise any money. There's enough people involved. They could raise some money. There's so many things they could do to raise money, but they're running out of time.
I'm guaranteeing that it's going to be saved for, like, the finale.
We know in the finale there's going to be an auction.
Yeah.
Because we've already run into credits for that were misplaced.
Right, yeah.
So we're gonna have auction day. So either they're gonna come in at the last minute before the auction closes and pay the debt, which, I mean, I know, like, I've said this before, that's how it works for, like, storage units and stuff.
Maybe season 3 will be a season-long auction.
Or somebody's gonna buy it.
Yeah.
Somebody, like, in our group is gonna buy it and
Gotcha.
allow it to continue to run. I mean, maybe Andrew's gonna buy it.
Oh.
I feel like he might be the only person that has any money left in this group.
Probably.
Or Walter's money could open up in the next 4 episodes.
He'll buy it, and then he'll immediately get hit by a car, and then stabbed, and then poisoned, and shot, and burned.
I mean, maybe Phoebe will get her money released.
Maybe.
In the 4 episodes. You know, maybe she ends up getting her accounts unfrozen and just in time to help save the day.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know.
What does Phoebe do?
She's married to Walter.
Okay, so...
I don't know.
I mean, that would seem to indicate that any kind of money that they ever made is all Walter's.
Well, this is why the lawyer's telling her to divorce him.
Gotcha.
Because then I think they would split the assets and she'd have hers free to go.
The assets that are...
I mean, it would take more than 2 weeks to do all that, though.
Right. I mean, like, if you're splitting assets that have been seized because he's in jail, going to jail.
I mean, the lawyer's telling her that'll be quickest, so there's got to be some loopholes in there that would help her.
Gotcha. Okay.
But, I mean, they've been together a long time. You know, like we said, it's been like 15 years or something,
So how would alimony work? Would it be based on the money that he shouldn't have?
I mean, he's got legit money, too. He is, like, a surgeon.
Yeah.
It's not all, like, fraudulent money. It's just that their accounts are frozen because of it. But it's not like, you know, if we take away the bad money, they'd be destitute.
How do they determine which money is the bad money?
I mean, I would assume there's records of all of this.
So there'd be an accounting of how much money he stole.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, but it wouldn't literally leave them destitute.
Right.
You know, they'd clear it up and I imagine he's going to be in jail a long time. And we know that Hollis turned him in, so he got off easy. Maybe he's going to come by the crossing. Maybe they released his funds and he's going to come by it. So
if you go to jail for this type of thing, would you be able to come back out and be a surgeon again?
I don't know. I guess it would depend if his license is part of the deal.
Gotcha.
I mean, he didn't do, like, anything medically wrong. It was all accounting.
So just overbilling and...
Right. So it's not like he had medical malpractice.
Okay.
Like they were accusing Maggie of last season. I don't know. I don't know. Is anybody going to be a doctor in this show about doctors?
I don't know.
They've all not been doctoring.
No. I mean, Maggie did deliver a baby.
She delivered a baby in the middle of the outpost.
Right.
Let's see. We had one other actor in this episode, a character named Emily, who I did not catch who Emily was. But she was in IMDb and the episode credits.
Okay.
So she exists, but I couldn't place another person that had a line.
It's possible that maybe she was cut.
Yeah, but CW had her in the credits.
Okay.
Unless they still leave the credits. I don't know. But Emily, and I don't know who Emily is, she was played by Gil Anderson. And she is in one episode of King and Pawn, an episode of The Trades, and several Jesse Stone movies.
Okay.
And that's everybody that was guesting in this episode. And then, of course, our main cast.
All right.
Who were, I think, all present this week.
All right. Do we have anything else to say before concluding?
That's all I have in my notes. I just really hope the next 4 episodes aren't all about Andrew.
I hope not.
Because I need Maggie to send him away.
Yeah.
Have a fight next week, and then I don't need to see him again.
It was fun, you know.
And if he's going to save the crossing, great. He can do it silently.
Yes.
Send him away, take his money,
Right.
and that's that.
Maybe put like some tape over his mouth so he can never talk again, because he's not a bad looking guy. He just it's just when he opens his mouth that it's a problem.
Yeah. You know what? I don't even ship him with Lola anymore.
No?
She deserves better. 100 times I've said Lola and Andrew can go be terrible together. I don't even want that anymore. Lola can find somebody better than Andrew.
We made some huge progress here on this channel. All right, we'd like to hear from you. Stacie can be reached at.
I can reach on Twitter, X, Instagram, and Threads at TVN Coupon Talk.
If you like this video and want to support the channel, there are a number of ways to do so. You can follow me on Twitter at Core Productions. You can join one of my Core Productions Facebook pages. You can buy something from the Core Productions store on Zazzle. You can buy me a coffee. You can join the Core Productions membership for 99 cents a month. And of course, you can like, share, and comment on this video, as well as subscribing to the channel. This is Dave and Stacie from Core Productions, signing off.